The future of work and leadership always starts with us. Welcome to the Dr. Ginny Show. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Dr. Ginny Show. I had the privilege last week to partner with one of my financial services clients and support them during one of their yearly conferences where they get all of their partner firms in one location and support them to gain new capabilities, new skills, new processes to support them in their growth. My mission was to share a framework that I designed specifically for them. And today's episode, I want to share one component of the framework, and it's to empower trust and team buy-in. When we are thinking about the future, the challenges that our teams are facing daily, the pressure that leadership must contend with, it is imperative that we as leader empower trust and team buy-in so that when we are enlisting them to follow an initiative, to implement a project, to take us from where we are right now, which may be a place where we need a lot of technology to advance, to a place where there will be a lot of change, many new processes. We don't even know specifically what's going to change. That's how much there is of a gap between where we are now and where we know we have the potential to be, that all of that requires us to enroll our teams and get their support so that you are clear on the strategy. They know exactly what the vision is for the future as it relates to what you're going to be working on. And you're going to save as much energy as possible because you're going to apply the 80-20 rule. If you look at the laundry list of things you have to do, you're going to look at the 20% of the items on that list that will deliver 80% of the impact. And that's how we're going to make do with the resources we have without burning them out, making ourselves crazy, and ultimately not delivering on the strategy that we set out to drive. So how do we empower trust and team buy-in? What I share with my partner during my keynote was there's two straightforward pathways to doing that. The first one, to build trust and to get our teams on board, is to build psychological safety. And the second one is to use transparent communication. As many of you know, psychological safety, according to Project Aristotle by Google, has been identified as the number one predictor of team performance. And transparent communication is there to drive trust and engagement. And this was backed up by a study by LinkedIn. Let me share with you what it looks like to build psychological safety. And I want to give you the example of Steve and Allison. Steve was my first manager when I graduated from college at Rutgers back in 1991. He was leading a team in the sales and marketing group in Roseland, New Jersey for Prudential. What I love about Steve and his ability to create psychological safety is that he had a team of about 6 of us developers and a couple of other people within the team. He always had his pulse on what was going on with us. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the qualities that Steve had, as well as the qualities that Allison had. Allison was my client all the way back to 2004 when I was overseeing the portfolio of technology projects for the institutional department at one of the last firms where I worked for almost 17 years. That was my first encounter with Allison and her leadership style and how she, as a client, gave me the psychological safety to do the best that I could serving her team. In 2012, she went to the managing member at the time and said, I need Ginny's help in supporting us to get these product data projects underway. And I left the technology division to go work for the distribution department at my organization. Here are some of the characteristics that made Steve and Allison psychologically safe leaders. Number one, when they made a mistake, they admitted to it and they asked for feedback. As leaders, we're going to do the best we can to guide our teams. And it's inevitable that we're going to make the wrong decision based on the facts that we were looking at the moment. As a leader, if you dig in your heels, and even though you made it the wrong decision, you continue to go down the wrong path, that's not going to be productive for you, and it will be very frustrating for your team. To build psychological safety, admitting that we made a mistake is fundamental, which requires us to be vulnerable. And by asking for feedback when we are in this moment, it allows others to support us as leaders and to bring in their ideas and share with us their genius so we can look for a path forward that addresses any problems we're facing and addresses the solutions we're looking for. The second characteristic of a psychologically safe leader that I shared with my partner during the keynote is psychologically safe leaders make space. They make space to listen to you, to what's on your mind. They make space to encourage you to provide those insights because every single team member has a perspective. As a leader, depending on how high in the organization you are, sometimes we lose sight of what it's like to be in the trenches, in the day-to-day grind, as they say. What are our team members seeing? They can identify and isolate inefficiencies much more effectively than we can because we are up here while they're the ones dealing with the process, with the workflow, with the onboarding, whatever the case may be. So when you make space to ask, how is it going? What's working? What's not working? What can we tweak? You create that psychologically safe space for them to know that, oh, wait a minute, I noticed something that we can improve. And I see that there is room for me to share that information. Another characteristic of a psychologically safe leader is they are very curious, exemplified by what I just shared with you. They ask the team members, what is your biggest concern? And this specifically ties with resistance. Whenever there is resistance over an adoption of a new technology, over a change that we need to make, over looking at a new vendor or getting rid of somebody that we have been working with because it's not working out, when we ask the question, what is your biggest concern? Again, we give them a chance to express what's really behind this resistance that you have noticed. Once you know what's behind the resistance, then there's something you can do about it. Without that, you will be trying to change the behavior without addressing what is the story behind that behavior that is fueling it. And so if you're finding yourself frustrated with people not getting on board or objecting to what you are proposing, ask the straightforward question, what's your biggest concern about this? The fourth characteristic that was prevalent with Steve and Allison is that they set the expectation. They provided clarity for me and the rest of the team without any hidden agendas about how we could win, how we could be successful in our roles. Set the expectations about what you want, what you need, by when, and in some cases, what precedes what. When we are giving instructions to our team members, we may think that they know what we're thinking, but the truth is they don't because they can't read our minds. The last time I checked. So when you set the expectations and when you express why something needs to happen in a certain order, now you have given me the tools to then change anything that we have discussed and to make the right choices because I know the assumptions that we are all making. So make your expectations known. Do not make assumptions that everybody is on the same page as you are because they may not. And the last characteristic of psychologically safe leaders that I want to share with you in this episode is that psychologically safe leaders like Steve and Allison have your back. You know there is leeway for you to take calculated risks, smart risks, and know that you will have their support. I also feel this way about several of the leaders that led me. For example, Rich. I remember one incident where one of the business leaders came to Rich and said, Rich, I'm having trouble with Ginny. She's asking me for the information for this project, and I feel she's a little pushy. And Rich had my back. He said, that's her job. I hired her to do this so that we can move our projects forward. So notice how somebody's discomfort or somebody who was used to getting away with not producing or having the accountability and ownership for what they said they were going to produce, the minute that that was questioned, they came and complained to my manager about me. And knowing that my manager had my back empowered me to, yes, be graceful, be respectful, which I always was, be professional, and do your job. And if that means making some people uncomfortable because they've been getting away with stuff that they shouldn't be getting away with, then so be it. Having my manager have my back and knowing that I have their support because I am thinking through the process, I'm thinking through the systems, I'm thinking through the people thoughtfully, that is going to allow me to truly bring my ideas forward and to solve real problems that we're all trying to fix. That is one of the key components of empowering our teams and building trust and getting their buy-in. And the second part of that was to communicate openly and transparently. Obviously, we will not be psychologically safe leaders if we are not transparent. When we hide things, people know this. Intuitively, you feel the person's not being honest with you. There's something else they're not telling you. The other thing that happens when you hide information is that what you're sharing does not compute. If you insist on a certain direction without really expressing why behind it, people begin to question, there's something else going on here. That is not transparent communication that will engender trust. So if you're having issues with your team following what you're presenting to them, ask yourself, how am I being psychologically safe? How am I creating an environment where people feel they can share their ideas? They see my vulnerability. They see me when I make a mistake. I admit to that mistake. They see me listening and asking for insights. They see me asking them, what's your biggest concern? I provide the clarity. I have no hidden agendas, and I support them when they take risks so that we can innovate. If you find that you are not being a psychologically safe leader, this is not the time to shame and blame. This is the time to raise our self-awareness so we can say, okay, I could be better at this. I could be better at asking questions. I could be much better at admitting when I make a mistake. And that means you have to take a bite of humble pie and realize that the only way the team is going to move forward into the future that is already here is by working together, by collaborating, and by making sure that you pull out the best in every single team member, including yourself. And that will never happen if people feel guarded, if they feel you're hiding information, and if they feel that your communication is not transparent. So how transparent is your communication? And if there's information you cannot share for confidential reasons, that's okay. Make sure that you tell them there's information that isn't public yet. However, based on what you know, here's what we're going to do. And this is going to let them know, because they're not naive, that yes, there's information that's not public yet, and I'm going to use what I do know to empower my team and get their buy-in. How does this resonate for you? How is your team currently performing? And what areas have you noticed simply by having this conversation with me that you need to improve? That, my friends, is what matters most. And if you are interested in you and I have a conversation about this, or to bring me in to discuss some areas of concern and opportunities for your team, I would love to support you in any way that I can. If you have an event coming up and you would like to discuss bringing me in to be a keynote speaker or to facilitate a panel or a workshop, I would love to discuss that with you. You can always find me via email at info@executivebound.com, or you can visit us at executivebound.com. And if you want to know what we're up to in terms of our next events, visit executivebound.com/events, and we will see you soon. I love these episodes because I feel that I'm sharing with you the many decades of experience that I've had in the business world. And this is one way in which everybody can access the content that we generate without any investment, so that you really get to feel the value of the content and also notice how when you take these strategies and tools and apply them, they become transformational for you leaders and your organization. And there's nothing better than to see our leaders rise and elevate. So I'm here to support you every step of the way. Lead with purpose, live with joy. I'll see you at the next one. If you enjoyed today's content, I appreciate your review so others can find us, and share it with your friends. And to stay in touch, join our community to receive valuable strategies and expert advice at drginnybarrow.com. See you soon.